Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing.
Yeah.
And we're live, right? We're live. Well, good morning from the West Virginia Drug Intervention Institute. You're here with Smart Rx Live with Susan and Jess. And we have some special guests with us here today. Darius and Mary Heather, who are here from the University of Charleston School of Pharmacy, future pharmacists in the house. So we're super excited. Yeah. So we have 3 things to talk about today, right?
Yeah.
One of those is that it's Naloxone November. And so the next 2 Wednesdays from 12:30 until 4:30, we'll be doing walk-in naloxone training. So come on down to 118 Capitol Street anytime between 12:30 and 4:30. It'll take about 20 minutes and you'll go through the naloxone training and leave here with that life-saving medication. So super important, no appointment necessary. We do ask that you wear your mask, but we can do that on the spot for anyone interested who's in the downtown area this Wednesday and next Wednesday.
Yeah. And we will take your temperature at the door as well.
Yes, so you'll have to go through all that,
Yeah.
but once you get past that initial screening, we can certainly start that training with you and send you off with some life-saving naloxone. That's super important, even if you are not someone in active addiction or don't know someone in active addiction. If you have an opioid in your home, naloxone is something that you should have.
Absolutely.
Just in case, whether you should unintentionally overdose or someone else in your home gets a hold of your medication. We know that there's quite an increase in the number of calls to poison control centers across the United States because kids are ingesting opioids unintentionally. So super important. Naloxone November, again, 12:30, 4:30, Wednesday. Walk in, get trained on the spot, and walk out with that life-saving medication at 118 Capitol Street, or right across from where the renovation is happening to the fabulous new library, which we can't wait. Is some of the education and outreach we're doing around medication safety, and so I'll turn that part over to Miss Jess.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you again on a Monday, and thanks for tuning in. We have, like Dr. Bissett just said, we have some special guests with us today. But before we get into that, I also want to mention that if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box on whatever method you are viewing this presentation. And we will either get to you live if it's during this, or if you post after the live presentation, we will come back and answer those questions. So remember, always drop us a comment. We like to see who's watching.
Yes, absolutely.
But I do have 2 special guests with us today. They are pharmacy students from the University of Charleston. And I'll go ahead and have you guys say your name and what year you are, okay?
And maybe where you're from.
Yeah.
Let the audience know where you're from.
Darius, you want to
So,
start?
I'm Darius. I'm a second-year pharmacy student from Cumberland, Maryland.
And I'm Mary Heather. I'm also a second-year pharmacy student, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Welcome, guys.
Great to be here.
They did not
Thank
know
you.
they were going to be doing this. So we like to put people on the spot sometimes, but what's really important and what's really awesome is that these 2 are helping us with some of our medication safety programming. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about what you're doing? You can either tag team it or go one at a time, and why you're doing it.
Sure. So we're teaming up with the West Virginia Drug Intervention Institute and we have a couple programs that we're working on. One of them is Rex the Rx. And with this program, we're going into schools and teaching kids about the importance of medication safety as well as medication adherence. This is such an important thing because we're kind of acting as a face, a friendly face, someone that they can listen to, someone that they can trust. So with us going in and explaining to them the importance of capping their medications, of having a trusted adult handle their medications, and making sure that the medication is only for them, they kind of know when they go home, okay, maybe this isn't something I can get into. You know, they understand the difference between candy versus a medication. And it's just important to make sure that they start thinking about this from a young age. Because if they get this knowledge when they're younger, maybe kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and they take it and grow up with this information, that's going to increase medication adherence as they get older. It's something that's cemented in their brain. It's fundamental knowledge, and it's a really important thing to do. So if we can stand there and we can act as the face, we can answer their questions, and we can interact with them, then it's a fun activity as opposed to just my mom said I can't do this, so I'm not going to. It's more of something that they may take pride in learning, and we have little motions and coloring books, so it's more not down to their level, but it's more educational.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun and educational at the same time. Like, I know, like, during it, I'm having fun with the motions and just like teaching the whole thing. Like, I know, like, the three main things like we're trying to teach kids is it's cap him, know him, throw him. So, and I know, like, because I have little siblings, and I know they're all for like interaction and involvement in class, and like I'm still like a hands-on like kind of learner. So I know, like, if I am, I'm sure like these kids are. So I think the method that like the Drug Intervention Institute's using to like reach out and making it like easy and relatable and fun at the same time is a great way to connect with like kids of all ages. And I know we're not just doing like elementary age kids, we're working on college age and high school age too. So it's for everyone, because like medication adherence is something across the board. As long as you're alive, you should still be adhering to your medication. So medication adherence is all, and safety is always important, and everyone needs to know about it.
So you guys have just really hit on one of the topics, which Dr. Bissett says a lot, is medication safety and responsibility is across the lifespan. So here at the Drug Intervention Institute, we are working on programming not only for the really young kids, but also for college students, which these guys will also be participating in our pilot that we're going to be having soon.
Exciting.
So we do have different programming, and we are working on future programming right now for adults as well. Maybe the beginning of 2021 we'll have something ready to talk about with that.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. And I think what's really unique about having student pharmacists here too is that a lot of times the general public doesn't realize everything a pharmacist can do, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
these guys are immunizing for the flu. Even now, as pharmacy interns, they're able to do that. We've talked a lot in the office about how pharmacists and pharmacy interns are going to be really key when we do have a COVID vaccine in terms of pushing that out to the public. They're usually the most accessible health professional. I got my flu shot by a pharmacist, and so it's just the easiest place to go and get it done. You don't have to make an appointment. You're in and you're out, and they're really the best person to talk to about medication safety and how to adhere to your medication. And so I think it's wonderful that even as early on in your pharmacy careers as you are, that you're being the ambassadors of this message, which I think is really cool. And so hats off to both of you and to the University of Charleston School of Pharmacy for being our partner in spreading this message.
We appreciate the opportunity. This is great practice, and it's great being able to be an ambassador for the profession and to learn more about it and interact with the community while we're still in school. So we really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I think it's really good because it just shows how involved pharmacists are in the community. Like, sometimes people see pharmacists like, oh, they're just like the pill counters behind the counter, like something like that. It's like, no, like Dr. Bissett said, like we do so much more, like counseling, and we do play a crucial part in communities, and especially at times like this, like it's important. Like I think we play a pretty big role. So.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to ask kind of a personal question, and we won't spend too much time on it. But I'm going to ask each of you, why did you decide you want to be a pharmacist? So
this isn't your interview.
This is just bringing,
Miss Jess probably doesn't know that's like the number one question they ask you when you're
This is for people watching that may not know, why you chose, but then I want you to talk a little bit more about what you're doing in pharmacy school, because this isn't just a one or 2 years. This is a whole process that you guys are going through. So you started last time, Darius. I'm going to have you start this time, and then we'll just.
So I've always thought this is so cool how like I could have a headache or like be sick or sore throat or something, and I could like drink this little cup of medicine or take this like little pill, and like within like 30 minutes my headache's gone, or like my stomach's feeling better. And I just thought it was so cool how like these little like tablets make our like daily life so much like easier and like more bearable. And I just was always curious about how that happened and like what like the science behind. I've always been like a STEM kid, so like I've always been into like science and like all that good stuff. So I was always interested in like the role they play in their body and like how they're like used. And so I was like, oh, and then I've interned and shadowed a bunch of different medical professionals, and when I shadowed the pharmacist, I was like, oh, he knows, he knows what's gone on and with these medications and stuff, and so I was like, I think pharmacy is what I want to do, and I've never regretted it. Especially this year, we're getting more into what the role each medication plays in your body, and receptors and all kinds of
awesome.
kinetics and all kinds of stuff. And I think it's so interesting because this is the whole reason I got into it and was excited about becoming a pharmacist.
Great.
So I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
Hey Jess, really quickly, let me interrupt, guys. It looks like we have our first question in the chat room from Mary Williams, I believe, Mayor Williams' wife, if I'm not mistaken. Do you guys see the question there? The question is, what is the cost for the medication to save a life if someone is on opioids? Where can you go to be trained to give them? And how do you know what is going on with that person? Those are great questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
This one.
first and foremost, naloxone is readily accessible without a prescription from your pharmacy. So that is the first place you should go because your pharmacist is going to be able to provide that to you. It is not necessarily over the counter, but it's behind the counter and you simply have to ask for it. And so that is available to you. Most insurance will pay for that medication. However, there are a number of organizations, a lot of health departments in West Virginia, and also us. Again, Wednesdays, 12:30 to 4:30. The next 2 Wednesdays, we'll be doing naloxone training, and that medication will be given to you free of charge. And one of the really awesome things about naloxone is that it has no adverse effects. So if you administer it, if I were to administer it to Darius right now, he clearly is not in an overdose situation, so I probably wouldn't do that anyway. But if I did, there would be no adverse effects to Darius whatsoever. So I'm often quoted as saying that in some ways it's safer than even aspirin and a lot of over-the-counter medications in terms of having it in your home. There are a couple different kinds of naloxone. The most common is the nasal spray, and then there's also an auto injector, which is a lot like an EpiPen, but the cool thing about the auto injector is it talks you through the process of administration, so you really can't get it wrong, and you really never have to look at the needles. For those of you that have needles, because it's a retractable needle, you don't see it.
Yeah.
So that's what's so awesome about it, and it's readily available at your pharmacy at a low cost, usually through your insurance, but most health departments also offer the training and dispense and distribute the naloxone for free, and then organizations like us do it the same. So I always say there's really no excuse not to have this medication, and I have it, and I've sent my daughter up to WVU with it, because you just never know when you're going to be in a position to save someone's life.
Absolutely.
So great question, Miriam. We're so happy you're watching, and congratulations to our friend Mayor Steve. We're super excited, and I know that he's a huge advocate for medication safety, as are you. So we're glad that you all are listening.
Thank you. And thank you, Joe, for bringing us that question. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment boxes, and we will get to them as soon as they come up. All right, Mary Heather, if you want to give the reason behind why you're in pharmacy school.
Yeah, I actually have kind of a similar story to Darius. So when I was younger, my dad got really hurt, and I remember being in the hospital and seeing all the different things, but the one thing that interested me the most was actually the medicine. I remember thinking, oh, it'd be so cool to be a doctor, it'd be so cool to be a nurse, but I didn't really want to be on the bloody and gory my stomach isn't the strongest in that aspect, but I remember seeing the nurses come in with different medicines, and this one helped his nerves, and this one helped the muscles, and this one did this, and I was so fascinated by it. And so having that experience and having that fascination from a young age, as I went through high school, I remember in chemistry looking at the different elements and being like, well, it's crazy that this table is made of the same thing that my skin is, but just a different arrangement and a different combination of different elements. And that plays a big aspect into medicine as well. It's a different arrangement on a specific medicine that binds to a specific receptor, so it does this crazy thing versus this. And I could never wrap my mind around it. So going into pharmacy, and as Jerry said, as we get further further into the curriculum, we're learning exactly what those modifications are, and exactly what those binding sites are, and exactly what these effects are. And every day, I'm still as amazed as I was when I was in 8th grade. And it's just it's a really cool thing to do, and kind of just building off that experience. And I've also seen pharmacists. I remember on rounds there'd be pharmacists with my dad, and I was like, oh, so I can do something like that too. I can, interact with patients, and I can build personal connections while helping people. Like there's no better feeling, and there's no better way to direct your life than, in my opinion, than with this profession. And I'm really grateful to be able to be in this position. So that's kind of what I wanted to
Thanks,
pharmacy.
guys, for
Of
sharing.
course.
Yeah.
I think it's great that people see a little bit behind the scenes and who is volunteering for our programs, because a lot of times students will see maybe a presenter on a camera but not know a whole lot about you.
Right.
So opening up those doors and those pathways for children to learn about is very important, at least as far as I'm concerned, because as a young child I wouldn't have never thought I could go to school and be a pharmacist.
Right.
But it's so great to see so much emphasis on STEM nowadays.
Yeah.
That can really direct people into these other careers. I think it's amazing. And you guys are doing some pretty hard work.
Hey, Jess, looks like we have another question coming up here, Jess. Are pharmacists allowed to administer Narcan?
Well, that is a fantastic question. So when we talk about administration, that means actually giving the drug, right?
Yeah.
So that means I have it on my person, someone's in active overdose. Can I then administer that drug? And the answer to that question is anyone can administer the drug. A pharmacist is allowed to dispense naloxone without a prescription from a doctor because we have a standing order in the state of West Virginia from the state medical officer that allows pharmacists to do that. So there's a difference between administration and dispensing. And then there's also called distribution, and organizations are allowed to distribute under a doctor's standing order. So there's a number of different ways, but anyone can administer naloxone if they have it to someone in an overdose situation. And in fact, you'll see that a lot of police and fire persons, a lot of postal workers, just anyone that works with the public will typically tend to carry it. We have a lot of businesses in Charleston that actually have the stickers that say I carry naloxone, and they have it and can administer it as well. So that's an excellent question. But again, the pharmacist really is the person that can dispense without a prescription from a doctor. And then there are those of us that distribute under the standing order of a doctor. It's a little complicated, but all in all, if you have it, you can use it. You don't need permission. There are also Good Samaritan laws that prevent you from any legal ramifications should that person not respond to the Narcan, and we have those on the books in West Virginia. And really, pretty much at this point, there's some version of that in all 50 states. So that's an excellent question, and thank you very much for joining us and for asking that in our chat. I think the other thing we want to cover today is a little bit about medication safety, right? Because we talked about naloxone, which is really, unfortunately, after the fact, after someone has abused a substance or a medication or an illicit drug, and then we're trying to get that medication safety message across the lifespan. So we have a partner in Through Pharmacy, and through the end of December, we are providing individuals, or Truth is, with medication disposal systems or bags. You just go in, ask the pharmacist at any 29 locations for Ruth in the tri-state area, and you can receive one of these bags free of charge. Josh, you want to tell them a little bit?
Really not a great idea. It's really the best when you're finished taking a medication or it's old or expired. The best thing to do is to get it out of the house and safely dispose of it. One of the ways that you could do it was with a medication disposal kit. I was trying to get the light on there, but I'm not sure if you can see it or not. We have partnered with Fruit, as Dr. Bissett said. Super easy to use these. You can use them with prescriptions or over-the-counter medication, whatever you need to get rid of. But the instructions are on the back, and simply this will hold 45 pills, 6 ounces of fluid, or 6 patches, whatever you need to dispose of. You would just tear the top off, put the medication in the bag, add the water to the halfway point of the bag, shake it up really well, seal it first, and then shake it. You don't want to do both at the same time. And then you can safely toss this away. It actually makes the medication unusable and therefore safe. A lot of times, people may think, well, I'll just toss it down the drain or down the toilet and get rid of it, and not really thinking about that consequence as well. And a lot of times, those medications can make its way to our water sources, and we really don't want a bunch of different medications swimming around in our water sources. So pick up a bag. If you can't do that at Fruit, you can stop by 118 Capitol Street and knock on our door. We'll be happy to give you one. Or you can even call me and I'll mail them. I don't mind to do that at all.
And they're non-toxic. So you certainly don't want to give it to a child to play with, but they are non-toxic. And one of the things that's so great about it is we have a tendency to be very well intended, especially in West Virginia and as West Virginians, is that we like to hold on to things in case somebody else might need it, right? And it's really important that you consider getting rid of those unused or expired medications. You know, Christmas is coming up. And the holidays, and so one of the best things that you can do is to make your home safe for the people that you love. And so this is one small way to do that, and get on into Fruit, and as you're picking up your medications or your supplies for the holiday, this is one more step in that process. And it's really kind of cool because these have been branded with our friend Rex, who's our medication safety ambassador, our little snarky Bilbo. And so we're super excited to have this partnership, but it only works if you all take advantage of it. So really want you to get in there. We tell people that we tell the kids pharmacists are superheroes. Your raincoats are your capes.
Our capes.
And so go see those superheroes that are out there behind the counter at Fruit and talk with them. Pharmacists are highly trained to counsel you on medications as well as disposal and medication adherence and any questions you might have. Sometimes doctors are not as accessible for that, so it's super important that you consider taking advantage of that. Get your flu shot at the same time, make it one big trip, and you've checked off a lot of boxes. So very excited about that partnership.
I love how easy these are to use. I remember we learned about them last year, and I remember I asked Jessica, I was like, can I have some of these to take home, actually? Because I have older relatives and stuff that just have bins of medications 3 to 4 years old, and I'm like, what do you have this for? And they're like, well, you never know if you'll need it. I was like, no, we need to get rid of it. So then I was giving them that, and they're like, oh, okay, this is easy.
And they work really well also if you've had someone in your house who, unfortunately, we know during this time period that's likely, who has been quite sick. And then once that person is better, you have these medications lying around. So this is not just for opioids. This is for any kind of medication. It's really important not to keep that medication around. You know, we know that college students, for example, tend to share stimulants, which is not exactly a wise thing to do, right? So this is an opportunity to get that type of medication out of the home and make your home so much more safe. We talk all the time about getting drugs off the street, but we don't realize that a lot of times they're actually in our homes.
Absolutely. And if you do have them in the homes, I'll just go ahead and say this as well. It's always a great idea to have a medication lockbox where you can safely store your medicine and little fingers can't get into it, especially with the holidays coming up.
Yeah, I have to confess that I had a moment over the weekend where there was a picture taken in my home, and I realized that there were medication bottles sitting on a shelf that should not have been there, and I immediately said something about the picture. Be like, well, this was a mistake. I need to get these out of the way. So, you know, we're all human.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we come home and we're really busy and we just throw it on a shelf or throw it on the kitchen counter. So it takes a while to train yourself to really be mindful about that, because not everybody remembers to put them in the medicine cabinet or out of reach of children. And so kitchen counter shelves and tables, not a good place for medicine.
Or if you have a toddler who's part monkey and likes to climb up into things, a little extra security is not a bad thing.
He's definitely a pusher. Yes, absolutely. Well, You never know who might show up. We encourage you to chat with us. Again, naloxone, 12:30 to 4:30 this Wednesday, 118 Capitol Street. If you want to learn more about our education programs, feel free to email Jess at wvdii.org. That's Jess.
Jessica.
Jessica. At wvdii.org. We also have a tab on our website all about our education programs. And again, stop into a free pharmacy location for your free medication disposal bag through December 31st. Thanks so much for joining us, and remember, don't keep Rex around.
Gentleman by the name of Bob Calhoun, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Kanawha County Schools, just in passing had mentioned to me, we'd really like to develop something for preschool. I happen to be working on a few other things with Joe Murphy, who's the CEO of Murphy Media, in relationship to opioid prevention and education. And had mentioned to him, hey, what do you think about creating something that could be applicable to the pre-K environment?
Get to the older ones, sometimes they've already got this mindset of, bad habits because they see what's around them, and you're unfortunately sometimes a product of your environment. And if we get to them early and they start learning good habits, the earlier the better.
Never imagined that within 4 or 5 weeks we would have a talking avatar that could interact with the children in real time, and we named him Rex the RX.
Have you been telling Mrs. Webb in her class all about, this?
What's that? What's that?
What? Oh, that's pretty cool, huh? Don't you wish you had one? Mm-hmm. I bet Joshua wishes he had one. And what about Temperance? Hey, Temperance, do you have a hat? Blake.
He's not going to high-five you or give you a hug. He will interact with you, but the whole purpose of Rex is that we don't want the kids to keep Rex around.
Oh, guys. Bye.
This is the way, in my judgment, to reach them. They're used to being interactive, and they really don't respond to anything but that. So you've got to find a way to make that impression and make it last.
Hey guys, what do you think of my hat? You like it? Anybody here wear a hat? No?
Kids like Rex because he's also interactive, and he can, communicate in the actual classroom. So you can say the kids' names, and that gets their attention immediately.
The response has just been amazing. The kids really relate to the avatar. So if they do have a prescription medication that they take, which a lot of kids do, we want them to use that medication properly, but we also want to ensure that they're not sharing medications. We know that we have an enormous amount of children living with grandparents, living in foster care. We know that grandparents, that age group, they're more likely to have multiple prescriptions where they probably shouldn't be, where they're much more accessible.
So it's a short program, but it's very effective. And Rex can talk to the kids, answer questions with the kids, and give them vital information.
Technology was used, it was very interactive, and the kids really, really seemed to enjoy it and learn a lot. I mean, medication's not something that we talk about a lot with kids at all because we don't know where to draw that line, but this made it very kid-friendly and interactive.
Do you know what that means?
He's expired. Hey, hold up a second there, Susan.
And so the message of don't keep Rex around is a real poignant one and real important, and something that a 4 or 5-year-old can kind of wrap their arms around and understand.
So we were really making a difference. We were reaching more schools and more counties and more kids than we ever had before with the medication safety message that Rex shared. And then in March of 2020, just like the rest of the world, the Rex program really came to a halt. So we were all working together and trying to figure out ways to get the program back online in any way, shape, or form. And then kind of hit the pause button and realized that now the message was even more important because you had all of these children who were at home with parents and grandparents who more than likely were not storing medications properly, and that made medication a lot more accessible and the message so much more important. We went back to the roots of Rex, which is innovation, and we found a way to scale the program by bringing Rex into homes remotely. And what that did was it opened everything up to a very unintended audience of parents and grandparents and caretakers who started to engage with us and their children about the importance of medication safety. We continue to believe that the message of medication safety is important, and that's for any medication. It doesn't have to be an opioid. We know that medications can be very dangerous if not taken by the person that they're prescribed. We also know that most children who overdose on a medication accidentally ingest that medication because it was not stored properly. We know that most people who become addicted to a medication do so because they obtain that medication either knowingly or unknowingly from a friend or relative. It's something that we really thought would delay or derail the program, and our message about medication safety really turned out to be something positive in terms of being able to reach more people with the message, because in the end it's really important that no one keeps Rex around.